Yes. Well, folks, look, political violence is something that you see a lot in other countries. You don't see it a lot in America. Well, I mean, you're seeing it more and more in America. I take that back. We're seeing a lot more of it here, but it's something that we associate with third world countries. But it is happening more and more and more here. And this weekend, we just saw an incident where this psycho actually went off and killed and tried to kill a bunch of politicians in the state of Minnesota. Like literal elected officials massacred at their homes. Let's get into it. On June the 14th, a series of targeted shootings in Minnesota left 2 Democratic state lawmakers and their spouses. Yeah, their spouses were attacked as well. Attacked in what authorities have called a politically motivated shooting. Now, the suspect of these crimes is a 57-year-old named Vance Luther Boatler. He was arrested on June the 16th, after a 2-day manhunt, the largest in Minnesota history. Now, here are the details. The 2 people who were murdered were State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman. This was actually a really horrific story. They were at home with their daughter. Their daughter was at home with them, and her mother actually shielded her daughter from being murdered by this psycho in their home. He shot this woman, State Representative Melissa Hortman. Then he shot and killed her husband and almost killed their daughter, who would have died if she was not shielded by her mom. Imagine that. Imagine seeing both of your parents murdered right in front of you. She was actually, Miss Melissa Hortman, Representative Hortman, was pronounced dead at the scene. Her husband actually died at the hospital later on. This attack actually happened at 3:30 in the morning. This guy dressed up as a police officer, pretended to be the cops. He showed up in a vehicle that looked like a police SUV with emergency lights. Oh my God, this is completely terrifying. How easily somebody could completely usurp the identity of a police officer, pretend to be a cop, show up at your house with a vehicle with all the lights on it, that in one of those SUVs that look like a light on it, in a police officer's uniform, knock on your door and murder you, and you're a state senator or whatever. He was disguised as a police officer. He had the badge, he had the vest, and it looks like he was wearing a silicone mask to conceal his identity. Now, the police actually saw him there, and he got into a shootout with the police before he was able to escape after exchanging gunfire. Also, approximately 9 miles from Representative Hortman's home, John Hoffman, State Senator John Hoffman, and his wife Yvette were shot multiple times. John was shot 9 times. Yvette was shot 8 times, but both of them survived, and after undergoing surgery. That is horrific. This attack happened at 2 a.m. So the same guy posed as a police officer, tried to gain entry by claiming to be law enforcement. Oh, okay, here, It was actually Yvette Hoffman who shielded her daughter Hope from being shot. So, right, okay. So it wasn't the Hortmans. It wasn't Melissa Hortman. It was Yvette Hoffman who shielded her daughter Hope during the attack. She was shot eight times while shielding her daughter. John was shot 9 times. Thankfully, both of them survived. But good God. This guy, this loon, actually had additional targets that he wanted to take out. He visited the homes of 2 other Minnesota lawmakers that he intended to kill. One of them was a state representative in Maple Grove that was on vacation. So, wow, being on vacation saved their life. Another state senator in New Hope, a police officer's arrival likely caused this man to flee. State Senator Ann Rest credited that officer's quick response with saving her life. Now, who is this guy? Who is Vance Luther Bolter? He's from Green Isle, Minnesota. He was a funeral services employee with a self-described background in security services. Though one of his friends, David Carlson, called his claims of working in conflict zones like Gaza and Africa a fantasy. He also was an evangelical minister and preached in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, when I first saw this story happen, people were saying that he was a Democrat at first, you know, in the haze of the early mornings. And I was like, wow, this dude is a Democrat. Well, the reason they said that was because he served on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's Workforce Development Board. And so he also served alongside Senator Hoffman, but their relationship is unclear. This man Bolter was a registered Republican in the early 2000s, but listed no party preference in 2019. His friend David Carlson, stated that Bolter voted for Donald Trump and was strongly anti-abortion. The notebook that was in his vehicle, now listen to this. This is really terrifying. A notebook in his vehicle contained a list of about 70 targets. Primarily Democratic politicians, abortion rights advocates, and Planned Parenthood locations, suggesting a possible anti-abortion motive. That is terrifying, that this man could meticulously plan these attacks, research these victims' addresses. He obviously had to conduct surveillance. He was able to get an SUV that looked like a police SUV, a police uniform, and then buy possibly a mask to deceive his victims. Wow. He actually wrote a letter to the FBI admitting to the shootings. That was also found in the vehicle. That is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. But man, this goes back to what I talk about, the type of reality that our government helps shape all over the world. Americans are not prepared for political violence. Not like this. Not like this. Don't get me wrong. We've had some assassinations in the past. Obviously, we've had multiple presidents assassinated and attempted assassinated. But that was always seen as random crazy people. A random crazy person shot Ronald Reagan. You know, or they claim that Lee Harvey Oswald, killed Kennedy because he was just some random loon who was mad about something from the Soviet Union, whatever they claim his motives were. But the type of political violence that we're seeing now, where it is distinctly partisan. This is the type of stuff you see in Colombia during the era of Pablo Escobar, or in Mexico, or in Haiti, or the Central African Republic. Americans are not built that way. We are not built for that level of chaos. That is not what Americans are built for. And so much of our media, and especially on social media, these people, even politicians, take part in this. They are turning up the temperature. They are dehumanizing people because, again, we go back to political gangbanging, you know, calling people maggots, implying that everybody who supports the Democrats is a pedophile, which is what a lot of MAGA people do. You know, calling people baby killers. You're a baby killer. You know, if you truly believe that anybody who supports abortion is a baby killer, then how can you not justify assassinations at that point? How can you not assassinate? How can you not justify killing people at that point? That's why you have to be careful with your rhetoric. Because once you start calling people baby killers en masse, like this, whoo boy, you're essentially saying, you know, if you think that the Democrats are all supporting the murder of children and are all pedophiles, then yeah, you're essentially saying that, you know, if somebody shoots these people, that's not that bad. And on the same token, like if you're saying that everybody who supports MAGA is a maggot, they're all white supremacists who, you know, want to bring back slavery, then at a certain point you're sort of loosening, at least greasing the skids for the type of political violence in that direction. And this is why you kind of have to be careful. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody's a little bit guilty. We all use a certain amount of hyperbole when we're talking politically. I think everybody does. But the level of contempt and anger and disrespect that you're seeing between the two political gangs in this country, the Democrats and the Republicans, there is absolutely nothing good that can come out of this. There really is not. You can expect a lot more of these type of scenarios if you have the type of organized gang mentality being perpetuated by our politicians who regularly call, like I said, people who don't agree with them baby killers, pedophiles, rapists. I mean, like, there's absolutely nothing positive that could come out of that. Absolutely not. And so we have to be careful. We have to be careful about that. All of us. Like, there has to be a way to, you know, talk about politicians and talk about, especially when it comes to their families. Like in both instances, it wasn't just the politicians themselves, it was their families that were under attack. You know, yes, again, this is the type of stuff that we visit on people around the world with our assassinations, the CIA, etc. But like I said, Americans, y'all ain't built for that. Y'all are not built for that. So let's bring it down. Let's bring it back to policy. Let's talk policy. Let's talk about what needs to be changed. But the ad hominem attacks, whoo, boy. That's going on this level. Whew. We should probably be careful, more careful, more careful. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about, is Israel blackmailing all of our politicians? When we get back, I think it's possible. We'll be right back after these here on Straight Out of the Cannon with me, Scott Cannon. Please stay with us here on the Region's Choice and the People's Voice. WLTH 1370M, that's 92.7 in the FM dial, if you dare.